All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council's public hearing regarding the Newington Town Code Amendment, Chapter 8, Article 4, Environmental Quality Commission. We will open it up for public comment. We have discussed this at the council table. The commission had come forward asking for us to change the membership of the commission, to take some members off and change the total number of public members serving on the commission. That was included in the legal notice, which I'm assuming we're going to put up on there. And there it is. Thank you. So anyone wishing to call in to give us their feedback regarding the recommended changes is welcome to do so. If you're in the Zoom application, you can raise your hand in the participants window. If you're on your phone, *9 will accomplish that, and we will know that you're here to join us. And I do see one member of the public right now, Karen Serio.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Sure, it's Karen Serio at 74 Fox Run Court in Newington. And thank you. I'm a member of the Environmental Quality Commission as well, as a commissioner. And we currently have 4 members and are looking to change. And I agree with the change. Instead of it being an industry member, it being a just a layperson like myself in the community. And I think it will allow us to have more diverse participation and increased participation, which of course will help us to increase our sustainability in our town. So I thank you for making time for us to make this change.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll just give it another moment to make sure there's no one else that wishes to participate.
Would you go out in the front with a sandwich? Come visit.
All right, we have another member of the public. Ms. Foley, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and town councilors and the town manager. Thank you for getting this scheduled. It's been on our agenda for a while, and we finally had the time to really evaluate how this particular commission has evolved over some last 20 years. And how the town has evolved, because it now has the protections and so forth by being within the town's employees. So thereby giving us an opportunity to involve 2 additional members as the public is excellent. We hope that you all agree, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to bring it here and to bring it to the public hearing level. And I wish you a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Foley.
You're welcome.
All right, the only members of the public that are in attendance right now have already spoken. So I think that we are good to go. All right. Seeing that there are no other attendees and no one else wishing to speak on this matter, there's no one in the room that wishes to speak on this matter. We are all set. I will now close this public hearing at 6:07. Councilors, we do have another public hearing at 6:10, so just a few minutes away.
Don't go anywhere.
Are we staying in this link, or is there a new, we're staying here? Okay, thank you. For all 3, we're staying here. Wonderful. Let me know when. All right, welcome everyone to the Newington Town Council's public hearing regarding Newington Town Code Amendment, Chapter 8, Article 12, Permanent Municipal Building Commission. The council has discussed over several meetings the idea of creating a permanent project building committee that would handle all projects brought forward instead of having different committees for each project. There is a lengthy description of the makeup of that committee that was put out in the legal notice for this public hearing and has been discussed at several town council meetings. So we are here this evening to hear from any members of the public that would like to weigh in on this subject prior to the council taking action possibly later this evening in our regular meeting. And I will look to our attendees window to see if there's anyone that would like to speak. Anyone in? Come on up. Welcome, Ms. Mankey.
Right. 112 Northwood Road. I serve as the treasurer on the board of trustees of the library, and I'm just here on their behalf to thank you for the diligent work you've put in on this. I know that we've had several incarnations of this particular, and we appreciate your working with us to represent our unique ownership situation with the property. I commend you on putting it together. I am an advocate of a permanent building committee. I think it will bring some consistency and professionalism to it. I do think the size is workable. In a perfect world, it would be wonderful to have more people on, but considering the commitments the individuals will have to have and their inability to serve in most regards, otherwise, realities of volunteerism, you're just not going to get those numbers there. So I do appreciate your efforts, and I hope it will go forward this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Mankey. All right, I'm just going to take another peek at our attendees window. We'll give it just another minute in case. I only see one attendee right now. Well, two.
It's a pesky NCTV studio guy.
All right, we have a hand up. Welcome back, Ms. Foley.
Good evening, Patty Foley, 51 Crown Ridge. I think this, I've sat through a lot of building committee projects and listened to them and so forth. And I think in many cases, by having a permanent building committee with people who are, as listed in number 4 here under powers and duties, would actually make a building committee better equipped to meet a lot of the questions that are raised, whether by each other on that committee and or the public, which would be easier to disseminate information. So, and one other thing, I'm glad that it will be a permanent commission and thereby look over many of the things that we have sitting in the kind of proverbial basket that's got to get done. So thank you very much. I'm very much in favor of this.
Great, thank you, Ms. Foley. All right, I don't see any other members in the room of the public or any online at this point, so we will close this public hearing at 6:14. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newington Town Council regular meeting of Tuesday, April 26, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is roll call.
Counselor Braverman,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Budraco,
Here.
Counselor Camillo, Counselor Donahue,
Here.
Counselor Mankey,
Here.
Counselor Nagel,
Here.
Counselor Page,
Here.
Counselor Rada,
Here.
Mayor Del Buono.
Here.
Counselor Camillo,
Looks like his audio is not connected. I think he's got.
Sorry. He was out, yeah.
Okay, so right now he's not in attendance. If he does come in, we'll note it in the record. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
You're
All right,
welcome.
next item this evening is public participation. Any member of the public may come forward in the Zoom application. You can raise your hand in the participants window, or if you're calling in by phone, you can do *9 to be recognized. And our time limit for public participation is 3 minutes. And if you could state your name and address for the record when it is your turn. I'm just looking to see if there's anyone online with their hand up, and I don't see anyone right now. Any members of the public that are here that want to come forward can. But you guys are good, right? Okay. I don't have any hands up, so we'll continue on. We did have one email correspondence that will be attached to the minutes. It was from John Trister at 81 Woodland Street, and it references the town manager search. That will be added to the minutes. All right, next we have awards and proclamations. We have a retirement of Jane Kalinich. Is Jane on with us tonight? No, okay. So Jane, I will read this into the record, and then we will present her with the proclamation later at a later date. Proclamation, whereas Jane Kalinich has been employed by the town of Newington for 10 years, working for the Board of Education, Town Manager's Office, and most recently, the Town Assessor's Office. And whereas Jane is primarily responsible for updating all property transfers in the assessor's real estate database, which is used, among other things, to identify all taxpayers for the purpose of property tax billing. And whereas, in addition, Jane is responsible for reporting all real property transfers to the state of Connecticut for the purpose of monitoring the state sales assessment ratio program. And whereas Jane's strong work ethic, focus on detail, and exceptional customer service in the assessor's office has served the town of Newington admirably by assisting residents with any question posed to her. And whereas Jane is a model for all town employees for the extraordinary customer service that she provided to the taxpayers of this community by doing everything she possibly can to satisfy the issue presented to her. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby recognizes and extends its sincere appreciation to Jane Kalinich for her professional service and dedication to the town, and wishes her the best in her retirement, dated in Newington, Connecticut, this 26th day of April, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Mankey. All right, any discussion on the proclamation? I'm sorry, I gotta remember to check my other screen here. Deputy Mayor Budraco.
Yes, and just want to say that one thing that resonates through this proclamation from Ms. Kalinich is customer service and attention to detail. And those are two qualities that I think made her such a valued employee to the town of Newington. So I want to thank her for her service and wish her the best luck in whatever her future endeavors are.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Budraco. Right. I would just like to add my sincere congratulations and thanks to Jane. The attention to detail and work ethic came through strong in her presence here in town hall. But quite frankly, it was her personability that resonated with me too. She was always just a joy to work with and talk with and was always ready to help at any turn. So I appreciate you, Jane, and I wish you all the best in whatever retirement holds for you. Thank you. Okay. We will move on next. I'm sorry, thank you, Councilor Mackey. I always forget on the proclamations. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. 8-0, Councilor Camillo absent. Thank you.
It's actually off.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have this evening a presentation, which I'm really glad we had changed our format to our agenda, and thank you for reminding me of that. We are able to have presentations at the beginning now. So we have the BAPS Charities Annual Walkathon coming up, and we have some folks from the organization here with us this evening. Do you want to come forward to the table so that you can use the microphone and you can introduce yourselves? And I know we have someone else online, I think. Let me just click on over to that window. Do you want me to ask, there's, yes, I can ask him to, he or she? He to unmute. I just want to make sure. I'm going to click ask to unmute. All right, well, he's still muted, so, oh, there we go. All right. Perfect. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank Mayor and the Town Council members to give us the opportunity to share the details about our organization and the event. BAPS Charities was founded in 2000 as BAPS Care International with the spirit of service. Right now we have presence in 9 countries, over 5 continents, and still we have the same spirit of service. BAPS Charities has been working in the key areas of health, awareness, educational service, humanitarian relief, environmental protection, and community empowerment. It has provided an opportunity to the individuals who are wishing to serve locally and globally. Now my colleague Bhaskar Pandya will give you the more details about the walk we are having.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for having us and giving us the opportunity to invite you all and spread the message. So this year, introducing myself, Bhaskar Pandya. I'm from Norwich, residing in Norwich, and every Sunday we volunteer here at the Newington Temple in BAPS Temple in Newington. So this year's, as you could see the title page, the theme of the annual walk is in the joy of others, lies our own. That's our motto from our spiritual leader. Believe in service for others. I'm going to, as Shilpa mentioned, about all the work we do, what we are about. We've been, we've known globally, and we're spread out among many countries, and recently just did Ukraine. Our team was there for a few weeks, volunteers helping the people, citizens there. So we believe in giving back to the community, selfless service. Recently, I'm going to talk about a few things along with the global effort and national effort. We've done a lot for COVID nationwide, and all the annual reports are posted on our website. So I encourage you guys to check that out at bapscharities.org. Locally, we've done since 2021 and 2022. As you can see, the first picture over there is the annual walk that we conducted last year. This was a virtual walk, and we had about 220 folks virtually walking because of COVID. And our beneficiary was, again, Susan Komen and Newington Fire Department and Newington Police Department as well. We had pledged to walk 100 million steps nationwide, and we went well over that, close to 200 million by the end of the project. Second one, as you can see, is the donation of $1,000 to the Rocky Hill Education Foundation. And this awarded to them last year, an effort of COVID. A lot of people, a lot of local nonprofit organizations struggled. So we recognize that, and nationwide we had a contribution to give to the local communities. After that, you see the annual food drive that we have, and Beth, you're aware of this. We donated about 1,500 food items late last year to the town of Newington Department of Human Services. And next slide, you'll see same thing during the pandemic. We donated about all the numbers are there. I don't want to read it off, but you can see the facts, number of items that we had donated to the Hartford Hospital, and again, the police department and fire department as well. This is a mainly PPE kit. And in addition to that, we had our annual food drive as well. So these are the things that we do. This year, annual walkathon, we're going to be focusing on, again, after 2 years, we're actually back in person. So people are very excited.
Mhm.
And we have our volunteers and the people that are participating coming from all over Connecticut, Southern Connecticut, Hartford County. We got about 237 people registered so far for this year. And we're looking to extend that out to even more. So it's going to start at the Newington Police Department, right over here. We're going to have an opening ceremony, and the event's going to start at 3:00. So again, it's going to be in support of Susan Komen, and our local beneficiaries will be Newington Fire Department and Police Department. Last year, as a nationwide, we contributed $50,000 to Susan Komen. So it's a great deal, and I encourage everyone, you guys, to spread the message, and just spread the message. And if you can also participate and join us, we would love to have you guys over. So with the BAPS charities activities, the theme is, again, in the joy of others lies our own. So we hope you will all also join us in providing joy to those who are facing the unimaginable adversity. So thank you for your time again. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you so much. And I've said this earlier when we were chatting, but the BAPS organization, you folks always have something going to benefit our community. I feel like every time I turn around, you've got some other event, and you showed some slides up there. And I just want to say I'm grateful for your partnership with the town and all that you do for our community. It's very valued, and this walkathon is another example of that. I just want you to know we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very
just
much.
took a picture of the QR code on the screen here. So if anybody saw me using my phone, it was to take a picture of the QR.
By the time I get home, I'll see one person registered.
From 237 to 238.
There you go. So we're going to try and get as many people as we can involved. And for those of you out there, if you can join this group to make this a very successful event, we would appreciate it, because they do so much for our community.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? There are a couple of counselors with their hands up, so they may have questions for you. I'm sorry, guys. Counselor Donahue.
Yeah, just thank you for the presentation. I see you guys all over the town. But your slides, if you can send your slides to the community television station, we'll put them up on our rolling scroller. I mean, it runs all day when there's no, so it's just nctv@nctv.org. Just send them over there, and yeah, because I mean, when there's no programming running, the scroller just runs and runs and runs. So
Sure. So I could talk to you offline, or maybe I could reach out and we could talk detail and see how we can.
Just nctv@nctv.org, send the PowerPoints, and we'll get them on there. It's that easy. It's just that easy.
He might
It's like
be
a commercial.
president of NCTV. He might be.
You might be.
The big
What can I tell you?
But it is a great
Or you
resource. A
can
lot of our,
respond to me and I'll get it to them.
All right, sounds
there
good.
you go. A
Thank
lot of
you.
our residents do watch that station for information, so that would be a great way to get the word out. Good idea.
Okay, awesome.
Counselor Page.
Just one question. What does BAPS stand for? Is that short for something or an acronym?
It is actually, it's an acronym of where it was originated. It's a Bochasanvasi Akshar Purushottam Sanstha. This is an organization, and I believe.
Oh.
I'm gonna need time to. And that's the location where it originated.
Yes, it's the location where it was originated, and the founder of BAPS is, so like I said, it's a spiritual organization, but we do lots of services and officially became, BAPS Charities. Shilpa mentioned 2000 and then 2007.
Perfect,
Wow.
thank you
So,
very
yeah.
much. Great organization, it seems.
Can you spell that for us, Mitch?
Later. All right.
can write it down.
Yeah, there
There you go.
Now I have to look it up, so thank you.
Charities.org.
Thank you.
Keep it,
Yeah.
that, all answers. Cool.
Everything you need to know.
Any other questions or?
Anybody else? I think we're good.
Thank you, I
But thank
appreciate
you.
it.
That was a
Thank
great
you.
presentation. We
Thanks
appreciate
for all
it.
your work. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, folks, next item is remarks by counselors on public participation. We had just the email correspondence this evening, so I think we're good. Okay, no hands up. We will continue onward to consideration of old business. The first item is health update regarding COVID-19. Mr. Chapman and Counselor Camilla did text me that he is in the meeting. 7:10, thank you. So we'll note that.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. As you all were notified, we are still in the red. We're going worse and deeper into the red as of last week. Just a note that the state of Connecticut may be changing the reporting structure. So the red, orange, yellow, gray may go away with different colors and different protocols. We're waiting to hear more about that, hopefully by the end of the week. Megan would be here tonight, but she's under the weather. She doesn't have COVID, but she's under the weather. So we're advising everyone entering the town hall to wear masks at all times if possible. And certainly if you haven't received your vaccinations and you're eligible, you should certainly get those. Seems to be, redeveloping, and I know there are a number of our staff that have had COVID recently, and we just had another report, I think today or yesterday, of another case. So it is going around, so just be careful, and please wear your masks. And we'll update you if the color system changes. We'll give you a briefing on that next week. That's it.
Any council comment or question? All right, we'll continue on. Next item this evening is amendment to Chapter 8, Article 6, Environmental Quality Commission. We had the public hearing earlier this evening regarding a change in the membership requirements for the Environmental Quality Commission, EQC, where we would be changing the industry representatives and making them public. And we do have a motion in our packet this evening. Deputy Mayor Badrejko, would you please?
Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the amendment to the Newington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, Article 6, Environmental Quality Commission. A copy of said ordinance is attached to this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Donahue. Any discussion on this one? I'll just mention for the public that the EQC actually came forward and requested this change based on the way things have changed over the years and the not really needing that industry piece anymore. So they feel that this will better meet the needs of the commission overall in the town in the business that they do for us. All right, I don't see any hands up, so we'll do a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I saw the two online did unmute and say yes, so motion passes unanimously. For those watching, we do have Counselor Braverman and Counselor Camillo participating online.
Virtual.
All right. Next item this evening is creation of the Permanent Municipal Building Commission. We again held a public hearing earlier this evening on this item. This is something that the council has considered for several months now. Actually, prior to this council being elected, the discussions had begun to create a permanent building committee that would handle all projects brought forward instead of having a building committee for each project, and a hope to help with consistency and a number of other things. The draft language was put out in the legal notice for the public hearing and has been discussed at great length. So we do have a motion in our packet this evening. I'll have someone read that in before we start discussion. Counselor Menke?
Certainly. Resolved, the Newington Town Council hereby approves the amendment to the Newington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Bureaus, Article 12, Permanent Municipal Building Commission. A copy of said ordinance is attached to this resolution.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor
And it is.
Donahue. And now we'll open it up for discussion.
I had to because it said it.
Oh, does it? Oh, that's funny.
What did it say?
All right,
Saw that.
that's funny. All right, so I'll open it up for discussion. Counselor Page?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I just think a lot of work has gone on to this. So I first want to say that to members of this council and to previous councils and other folks who have worked on this, I extend my thanks and respect for, what did we say, 22 months?
Yes. I was being a little sarcastic, but
Well, I don't know, a couple of years, it's been.
9 months maybe?
July or August we started.
Okay.
Yep, it's about
So,
9 and 10 months, yep.
But for however long, it's been a fair amount of work that a lot of people have put into this. And I think the motivation to do this and the intention is noble. And I think it can provide a lot of good on behalf of all residents moving forward. I'm disappointed that, and again, based on a review that I have made with thanks to the information provided by the town manager and by James. As usual, James provides great information and data. This proposed commission will be, in my view, the most restrictive relative to stakeholder involvement and regarding the tenure, the length of term, the number of members on the commission. And I understand, and Ms. Mankey made reference to this and other folks have, that the reality is that it's tough to get people to volunteer nowadays for a lot of reasons. So there may be rationale for a smaller commission based on that, but I think we have so many talented, bright people in this town who love this town, and with some effort, we could expand the membership and have a greater number. We could also have alternates, which I think would be beneficial, as if you review the data from the dozen or so towns that I did, and I'm repeating myself, and I won't be too long, I promise. But the other commissions that exist, the dozen or so, have alternates for a lot of practical reasons. So I think the way we're treating the library is a good way to treat stakeholders. I agree with that. I think that's a good model for other stakeholder bodies and other potential recipients of buildings that'll be happening, whether it's our schools, our park and rec, or other projects. And it doesn't have to be leadership. And in fact, most of the ex officios in other towns are, the ex officio is the superintendent or is of the park and rec or superintendent of schools. I'm not suggesting we should have those leaders be in a voting capacity, but I think a designee, and they would be, let's face it, in a minority position, but they would have a legitimate voice. So the experts on the commission would still rule by majority, but I could go on. I've stated my case before. Again, I think the intention is excellent, but I would be, I'm disappointed in the limitations I think we're placing on ourselves in the aspiration that this proposal is working towards. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Rada?
I don't want to take up too much time and reiterate some of what Councilor Page has said. I have gone through this several times and was part of the group, the most recent subcommittee that worked on this. Again, thanking everyone who from last summer through now, and I remember sitting and listening to the council meetings and the deliberations and the discussions throughout the summer. But I do have concerns about the draft as it stands now. I have some language that I feel might provide some clarification, but beyond that, probably my major concerns are, number one, the 5-member commission, which I would, and I understand it is difficult to try to find folks to come out and to volunteer in this capacity, particularly in this capacity, and we're looking for folks who have specialized skills and knowledge and experience to be able to make this commission work. I'm not opposed to a permanent municipal building commission per se. I just feel that I would like to see a larger initial group. I know we've talked about, well, we can always go back and we can revise if necessary, but my feeling is, why do twice the work when we can take this draft and maybe massage it a bit more? I also feel like Counselor Page that while having library voting members when there is an issue that focuses on and is in relation to the library and anything that's going to be happening in the future, I think that's very important. They're voting members, and there's already been discussion, and we're comfortable with that. I also feel that if there is something that's going to be happening with the fire department, any of the buildings that might need to be repaired or updated or expanded, with the schools, that I would like to see the additional members be voting members as well, so that we have more community input and discussion, and people feel as though they are taking ownership of that particular project that's taking place. Apart from that, again, comments that I have are essentially language clarifications, my editing, that we joke about sometimes. So I will leave it at that. I feel that I don't feel the need to rush into making this change immediately. We don't have anything looming on the horizon where we know that there is a project that needs to be addressed immediately. So we would need to move this along. I would like to take a bit more time and look through this yet one more time and see if there's a way that we can make this a little more, I hate to use the word expansive, because that's one of the problems that we've been having and we talk about in terms of volunteers, but add a little more meat to this and a little more buy-in and representation from some of the stakeholders that we know will be coming forward with projects in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Mankey?
Just two comments. I appreciate both your comments. We have been working this a long time, and there has been considerable iterations of that process of changes and language and numbers. I just would point out for the public's view that the library representatives are there only because they own the property. Unlike other facilities in town where the town owns the property, these are property that the library trustees own separate from the town, and that's why they're included with with two actually voting members, because it is their property.
Yeah, understood.
They bought it, so
Don't disagree with that.
so that's why they're there, and others are there. I mean, others are there as ex officio, and they would certainly make their points heard, and I can't imagine anybody being on this commission and putting the time in that would want to then not fulfill what the requesting department needs, and I think that's important. I think, like the rest of us, anybody who serves on a town board, commission, or committee does it for the love of the town, and they would do it because they want to do the best for the group that's asking for the project. I think we do need to move forward with it. I do. I think we do have some projects coming down. We have a pool that needs some work done, and we can't have that done unless we have a building committee. And if the longer we stall, the longer the pool sits, and we don't get anywhere. So I do think there's an urgency to move this forward. So I would recommend that we carry on with the vote tonight.
We do have a motion and a second on the table, so we do have to move forward with that. Either voting or, I'm looking around the table for a consensus I see heads shaking on this end. I know you guys have a different feeling, but it looks like the consensus is to move forward with the vote, which we do have the motion on the table. So if there are any suggested changes, they need to happen now before the vote happens. In terms of language, I know, Kim, you had said you had some language suggestions.
Do you want me to go through this? I can go. I mean, I'm fine with that.
I mean, if there are things that you want us to consider, they have to be mentioned now before the vote. Otherwise, they would be, it would be a moot point.
Okay, I mean, these are, I can go through them. There aren't all that many, apart from the numbers and some of the more substantial or substantive changes that Counselor Page and I have raised. If we want to start, we'll start on page 1. And again, it's editing to make it a little bit tighter and add a little more clarification. Number 5, to exercise such powers, I would get rid of the and. And number 6, begin with to provide, because we want to be consistent with language, and get rid of shall be provided by the commission. And I
So
see.
what was the 6?
Begin sentence with to provide interim status reports, and then get rid of shall be provided by the commission. And the draft that I have that came with the packet, I think we still have that, the duplicate sentence. It's, yeah, so if we can get rid of that.
Upon completion of the project, yeah.
Yeah, we thought we got rid of it at the last meeting,
Yep.
yeah.
So just so we can move forward. Are there any objections to those 2 changes? No. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Number 7, any prior project, I would say it's not really a project, it's a building committee that we're talking about here. Any prior building committee, which has already been approved at a referendum and instead of prior to 2022, to clarify more, I would say prior to the establishment of this PMBC.
So it is a prior project, though. It's if the prior project had already gone to referendum,
Right,
that the building committee would stay in effect,
right.
right? So I would leave any prior project which has already been approved at referendum prior to formation of,
This PMBC.
this PMBC.
It just makes it a little clearer than just a year date.
I'm trying to think of how to finish that sentence now. Because it's not the project will remain in place, it's the building,
The committee will remain in place, or
the committee will remain in effect,
maybe the committee will remain in
the
effect.
standing committee or will remain in effect for the duration of that project and will not be subject to this ordinance.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Again, is any
Any-
objections?
Are we looking for consensus? Okay.
Okay. I have a question about number 11, under definitions, proposing body. The way it reads now, the first part of the sentence is clear. It means the town of Newington department, appointed or elected board, or commission sponsoring or requesting a construction or major maintenance project. And then I'm concerned whether, if this might be a conflict of interest in this next wording, or in the case of major maintenance initiated by the permanent building commission itself. Will that ever happen? Will the building commission initiate a project? And if so, does that not sound like a conflict of interest?
I agree that, in the
Yeah, me-
case of major maintenance initiated by the permanent building commission itself, they would never initiate. It's supposed to come through this body to bring forward to them, correct? Or what is the rationale?
There's a proposing body that would bring the project to the permanent building commission and to us and to the council, us or whoever the council is at the time. But the permanent building, I mean, I would be a bit
I'm looking
concerned
to
that the
those
permanent
who-
building commission would initiate a project.
Well,
Give me an example of what that is referring to so I can help. Does anybody have an idea of what that, James, you kind of look like you might understand where that language came from.
That language specifically was when we still had under the first section under composition, the requirement of them to review our town buildings. We actually did pull that at the last meeting. So that may be something that we want to look at striking in this language.
Okay.
Their purpose was to review the buildings based upon
Instead of
our Owens
this, yeah.
report and continuing to make those recommendations, whether it was through their process or through the town department process, to be able to bring that project forward.
Yes, if we were gonna do something to the town hall, we would, the town,
We would initiate.
we would initiate it.
Right.
Right, but they may go out as a board to do an inspection at that building
But even
and
if that,
determine
they-
that,
it would still be, we,
They
the
say
town
they
council
should
would do the
propose a
request.
body.
Right.
correct, but they would effectively be the proposing body coming to you, which would effectively come back to them.
Right. So I would be okay with.
Got
So
it.
a bit circular, yes.
Yeah. Right. So they would initiate, they would say, hey, look, we need to put a awning up by human services because there's no there. So we come back to us. Yeah,
Around the
or a
building.
swale around the building or,
Any number of
yes,
issues,
yes, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So we could probably delete that sentence or that phrase.
Yeah.
We don't have them already doing the maintenance review on the buildings, as we removed, I believe it was item 6 in the previous revision.
So we're okay with removing that?
Okay.
Let's see. Number 12, and I know we went around with this in our committee meeting. Service equipment and major systems, it shall not include information system technology, and I still feel very strongly that it should include information system technologies. And I present some of the issues that we've had here in the new
Well,
town hall.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but information technologies as part of a whole building project is different than if there's an IT project separate from a building project.
What we're specifically calling out in this language is the computer infrastructure, not the cabling through the walls. the s-
Computers and
that-
computer
that-
systems is what it says in
correct.
parentheses.
Exactly. That recommendation would still come through that, we need Cat7 cabling coming through the building. We need a direct fiber connection coming in from the roadway. All of those pieces would still be there.
But is that what you just said, James, captured somewhere else? Because I agree, and I know we talked about this initially. Is that
Those would still be
captured?
under the basic program itself. And as you've seen in the composition, the IT department
Would be
is
efficient,
part of
right?
that process, but we wouldn't be talking about what computer is needed for the building. We'd be talking about
The
specific
infrastructure.
infrastructure
wires,
hardware.
So, where it says in 12, just above, major electrical services, including wiring and fixtures.
Right.
That's
We could say
Correct.
wire.
That would be under
Would
that
be-
premise.
Okay.
Yeah, and where to put the wires? Do we put the TV screen here? Do we put it over here? That would be.
The IT infrastructure, so to speak, versus the computers and other pieces, the
itself.
physical
We saw
pieces.
that, I mean, obviously, they're all embedded with electronics now, so we just didn't want to exclude that.
Yep, no, and that discussion was actually held and recommended by the IT director as well,
So that's distinguishing these, which wouldn't
Right.
be, or.
Exactly.
From,
from everything that's in our
Everything
walls
else
that we
that's-
don't see.
okay,
And in a sense, the people that are on this committee are experts in building, not experts in what kind of computer is best to buy. Or what kind of server, because if you're an electrician, you would probably not be skilled in what kind of a printers put to order for the office or servers or computers.
Right, and they're part of the building committee because that was missed in this building.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
They should have been part of it, right? In some
All right.
form, yeah.
So we're good with that?
the next are both, points that Counselor Page and I have made. I'm opposed to the 5 voting members, and I completely understand. I just disagree that not only the library and understanding the very special relationship that the library has, that the Board of Trustees and they own the space and the property, but also feel that when there are specific departments, such as fire department, such as the schools, that there be voting membership. So that's, we've already gone into it, so I won't
So
say
just
anything
to be
more.
clear, that would be denied by the majority.
I would not support that just
Okay.
because each department needs to be treated equally. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And just,
Yep.
may I, Mayor, just interrupt, may I?
Go ahead,
Your
Lucy.
time?
Yes, you can.
Just, and I would just propose 9 members, 7 standing members, 2 alternates. And I'm assuming you guys would not agree with that.
I'm not in favor of it, but I'm looking for a consensus.
And then in terms of
Okay.
composition, the other I would suggest is that we start with a 5-year term and then scale down to 4 and 3 respectively, and then stagger those, because most projects, what do I know about construction? Nothing, right, John? But most projects,
I wasn't gonna say it.
I think 3, 4, 5 years minimum from soup to nuts, don't they?
Mhm.
So I'm just concerned the way this is designed, we're gonna have rotation, and it won't be permanent, it will be rotational. Yes, some people may be
Right.
nominated, I get that.
Yeah, and the goal is that there would be, certainly if they were recommended by the town manager to the council and the council appointed them, we would then have confidence in them and we would be able to, I think part of the reason the terms are with a 5-year term, I would be hesitant to join any committee or commission that puts me on the hook for 5 years. 5 years in our lives and our personal lives, a lot can change in 5 years. And I think we would maybe limit the scope of the people who could volunteer that if they were stuck on it for 5 years. Not stuck on it, but if they were lucky enough to be appointed to it for 5 years. I think that's part of the issue. I think is it's a 5-year sentence.
Yeah, don't want to scare anybody.
Right. And just the last point I would make, Matt, on your time, in terms of composition, and I've said this before, I would like to see the town manager, who's ever in that position, be the one who vets the resumes and does the interviewing of the experts. And for all those members to be vetted by the town manager. And while I appreciate the mayor's previous comments in other meetings about the appointments from each respective political party, I think that kind of brings us back to a political consideration and less a technical one. So that would be my other recommendation, which it sounds like would be rejected by the majority. But I just think it would make it a cleaner process. So, and those are my only main comments about composition. So I'll yield to Councilor Rada.
One last under building project procedures, B, preliminary steps. And again, this is just my editing and clarification. In the first sentence, in consultation with the requesting agency, I suggest proposing body, just so that we have consistent language throughout the document.
So instead of
Instead of requesting
agency, proposing body.
Because that's the terminology that we've used throughout.
Before, yeah, okay, makes sense.
That makes sense.
Everybody's in favor of that?
Under
Yep.
B, yep.
That makes sense. Thank
That's
you.
it for me. That's all for me. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Thank you for editing or for proofreading her.
All right.
Thank you, the editor in chief. If there was an award for that, we would give it to you.
Double your salary.
So whatever you're making now, we'll make
I
it.
work for chocolate.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. We have some amended language that we've all agreed upon. So Councilor Mankey, you made the original motion. Can you amend it to include the changes
I
that were
would
made?
amend my motion to include all those changes that we just made moments ago.
Okay.
Second.
And
Second.
Don, you were the one that seconded, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're seconding again?
I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any further discussion? I think we've discussed enough over 9 months. All right, all those in favor, do we need a roll call on this? We should do a roll call because it's not going to be unanimous. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Counselor Braverman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Budraco,
Yes.
Counselor Camillo,
Yes.
Counselor Donahue,
Yes.
Counselor Mankey,
Yes. Why do you keep looking up?
Counselor Nagel,
Yes.
Counselor Page,
No.
Counselor Rada,
No.
Mayor Del Buono,
Yes.
7-2.
Thank you, motion passes. Thank you to everyone. I know everyone worked very hard on this, both from previous councils and this council, so thank you to everyone.
Just one question, James. Can you give us, with the changes, can you give us a clean copy of it with all the changes? I would appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item this evening is the bid waiver for Firehouse Subs Grants Fund. As you remember, on March 8th, we accepted a grant on behalf of the Newington Volunteer Fire Department. The grant is for a purchase in excess of $30,000. Due to the cost of it, we have to do, and the single vendor for the product, Chief Traumer has requested that we consider approving the necessary bid waiver for the acquisition of the equipment. This really is just a matter of procedure so that we are able to utilize the grant funding in the way that it was intended and needs to be purchased, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Nothing additional, it's just procedural from Mr. Barron.
okay. So this was recommended by Mr. Barron for us to consider. We have a motion in the packet this evening.
I'll read.
Thank you, Counselor Rada.
Whereas the town of Newington Volunteer Fire Department was awarded a grant from Firehouse Subs for the purchase of necessary life-saving extrication tools, and whereas the specific extrication tools as outlined and awarded with the grant are supplied through Firematic Supply Company, Inc. as a single source vendor, sole authorized dealer for the Hearst equipment for the state of Connecticut under the grant award, and whereas the Newington Volunteer Fire Department is interested in acquiring the extrication tools from Firematic Supply Company, Inc. to protect the lives of all Newington residents and visitors, and whereas the town council under the Newington Town Charter, section C 814, has the ability to waive the requirement of sealed bids for purchases in excess of $30,000. And whereas the town council hereby determines that it is not in the best interest of the town to require sealed bids due to the impact it would have on the preservation of lives within the town of Newington, and now therefore be it resolved that the town council hereby approves a waiver of bidding requirements under the Newington Town Charter for the purchase of life-saving extrication tools for the Newington Volunteer Fire Department from Firematic Supply Company, Inc.
Seconded by Counselor Nagel. And that explained it far better than I did. Yes, Counselor Page.
Discussion.
Yes,
I'm
go right
very
ahead.
excited about something. You ready?
Go ahead.
I may have caught a typo that Counselor Rada didn't.
What?
No.
Well, she did
What?
because she corrected it when she read it.
She did, oh, that's right.
She did correct it.
Just in writing, in 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas.
Binds, bids.
It
I
says
said
binds, James, instead of bids. Just a
Counselor
small.
Rada did read it correctly into the record.
Do I get a gold star or something?
You get the candy bar back.
All right.
Yeah, here you go.
We'll just keep
all I
passing
use.
it down.
You get an emotional support counselor. Thank you. I need it.
All right, so we have the motion on the table. We have a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Counselor Menke.
Just quick, have you folks used Firematics before?
Yes, we have.
The only place we've been able to get those
Mm.
is for as long as we've been getting them.
Really? So they're the only game in town in a sense.
Yeah, for the Northeast.
That's actually where we buy all of our fire trucks from also.
Firematics?
Yes.
So we have a history of with it dealing with that company and we have no problems.
It's been fantastic.
And they're the dealer for our new water.
Okay, and we have no problems with them up to this point. Okay. Then I would support this. It seems like a no-brainer.
All right, seeing no other, oh, Counselor Rada?
Yeah, just a question, from the time that this is now, the resolution has been made and all the paperwork goes through. What's the time frame that you're thinking of that before the tools come in?
They said anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks roughly.
Okay.
Could be sooner, could be, they said roughly. With all the supply issues that are
Yeah.
out there right now. who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, I'm just-
Hopefully, 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay, just curious, great.
But they've been in contact with Firehouse Subs also, so they know that.
It's good to know that the order's coming, yeah.
They know it's coming and the funds were transferred here already. So it's just a matter of.
That may make it
getting the
faster.
funds back out here
Where are they going to be housed?
on Rescue One.
Rescue One? So when they come in, you'll let us know and we can go take a peek?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Actually, Firehouse Subs, once we receive the equipment, also wants to do like a PR.
Yeah.
type thing.
Oh, good, yeah.
So they want to take pictures with us and so forth, so.
Great.
we're looking
We
forward
can
to that.
That'd be
rip the
great.
doors off the mayor's car. It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Sure. You like it, we can take it.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
It's a Buick.
Now we finish with it, it won't be. Yeah,
We'll make it a convertible.
we'll make it a convertible.
All right, Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Do you have equipment similar to this now, or this is gonna be brand new for you?
This will actually be our second set. So we're gonna take the new equipment, we'll put it on our rescue truck, which is our main rescue truck. We'll take our old equipment, we'll put it down on our TAC, which is in the south end of town. So we'll have the capability of actually being able to do 2 accidents at the same exact time.
Hope you don't have to, but.
Yeah, right.
You never have to, but
Yeah.
sometimes you may have multiple cars that you have to work on. So it's nice having the learning tools to be able to do that.
Great. Is there special training involved? Well, I guess you guys.
Yes, we do extrication training and, for vehicle, cars parked and patient care and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right. No other hands up, so we'll go ahead. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank
Our
you for
pleasure.
everything
Thank
you
you.
do.
We appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Oops. All right, next item this evening, under resignations and appointments, we have an appointment to the Conservation Commission.
I can read it.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Resolved, the Newington Town Council hereby makes the following appointments. Conservation / Inland Wetlands Commission, Kelly Dejas, a member, 45 Lincoln Road, Party R, term 4/26/2022 to 11/30/2025, and it's a vacancy with the resignation of Richard Laverier.
There's second. Second by Councilor Rada. Any discussion on the appointment? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is refunds for the approval of April 26th, refunds of overpayments. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko.
Resolved that property tax refunds in the amount of $1,217.70 are hereby approved in the individual amounts and for those named in the request for refund of an overpayment of taxes certified by the revenue collector, a list of which is attached to this resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Nagel. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item, we have minutes of previous meetings. So we are looking this evening for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from special meeting of March 19th, 2022, regular meeting of March 22nd, 2022, April 5th, public hearing minutes, April 5th, 2022, and April 5th, 2022, special meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Nagel, seconded by, who said second?
I said second, but I.
Seconded by Councilor Page. All right, I saw his hand. Any discussion on these?
Just wondering,
Yes.
I went on the other day to find the minutes from February 22nd, and I still can't find it. And I know James stepped out, so he can maybe help me understand why we're still missing February 22nd.
I believe they're on the town website.
I
I
didn't
asked
see
the
him.
same
and
question and
I
that's
may have
what
missed them,
James.
because when you scroll down, there's a little green check that allows you to check minutes before February 22nd and after February 22nd. And I was like, unless I'm looking at the wrong.
But just so we're clear, that's not one of the ones we're approving this evening, correct?
Right, but
Right.
I was just
That's
saying
fine.
this in the context of,
Yep.
just wondering where's Waldo, that's all.
Just want to make sure we're not approving one that we don't
No,
have up there.
Yeah, and
I don't want anybody
I
to
have
be
no
confused.
issue with these others.
Okay. So we can follow
We
up.
can certainly go ahead and I'll follow up.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table. Any discussion on the minutes that we're approving? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're moving in now to new business. This evening, we have a discussion on economic development within town. This is an item that actually Deputy Mayor Bedrejko had brought forward, asking just for an update on the economic development projects that are happening in town. We just want to make sure as a council that while the development piece always goes through TPZ, that we are cognizant and aware of the development that's coming forward so that we can plan from a council perspective for any future needs that may come forward. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko,
Right,
sorry.
the reason, I think sustaining and continuing economic growth is definitely a priority because what it signals is that, Newington's in demand and it will be in demand in the future. And it's kind of nice to know that, or in a way, we haven't really had to assess our readiness to support this growth and what we have to do as a community to ensure that the current planned growth and future growth is supported within our community. And again, we're focusing on the positive. There's so much positive aspects of what's happening in our community right now. But I firmly believe as a body, as a council, it would be irresponsible if we didn't kind of just take stock of everything that's going on and say, okay, this is great stuff happening. What's our current capacity and what do we have to do in the future if there's any gaps in our capacity to support the current development and development that's going to be happening in the future. So again, I do feel it is the responsibility of this body to take a cumulative look at all the development opportunities that are coming our way and to say, are we in the position to support them? And if not, what do we need to do as a community to support this growth?
Cool. Thank you. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the town manager who has prepared a presentation for us this evening regarding the upcoming development.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, what we did is after the request came in from the counselors to look at what's been going on in town, and it is pretty impressive what's happened in the last, we'll say 2 years. And what we're going to do is we have a map that James is going to display, and we're going to start with the top of the map, the most northern developments that are going on, and then we'll work south, but we'll take one at a time so you get an understanding of what it is and what impact we feel from an administration perspective we may have as these projects get underway and are completed. So the first one is a 249 Day Street. James, can you blow this map up at all?
Yep. Give me just a moment. It's a large map, so it takes a little bit to draw. There we are.
There you go.
Oh, nah, there we go.
Okay.
That's a lot. Okay, so 249 Day Street is solely a parking area for 40 emergency bucket trucks for Eversource. I believe they used to be stationed down at 3333 Berlin Turnpike, but that is going to be discussed a little bit later. So they've acquired a piece of property over on Day Street that they're going to be parking vehicles there. So we don't anticipate any impact whatsoever on any of our services. So that's no cost to the town, we'll say. I guess that's how I'm going to phrase these. Next one is 4 Hartford Avenue. Now that is the new gas station that's underway. That was an old gas station location years ago. It was torn down and it's taken about 20-25 years to have someone come back in. So it's not really a new add-on. It's an old station that's just been replaced. But in talking with the police department, they are projecting for a typical gas station situation with the convenience store and so forth, we're probably looking at 75 calls per year for a variety of reasons, but not a major issue for the police department. We anticipate a couple of calls each year for the fire department with, fuel spills and so forth, but once again, not a major issue. Next area is 285 Connecticut and 293 Connecticut Avenue. Both of those are residential developments that are being developed. And the only issue, and that's going to be, I believe there's 6 units or 6 houses in total in that area. We do anticipate additional costs for the trash removal and recycling because it is residential, not commercials. With the commercials that I just mentioned and all the others down below, there's no cost to the town for the trash and recyclables, but for the residential, single families and so forth, there are. So we anticipate about $1,000 a year for a resident for the recycling and for trash. For this little development, we're looking at probably 2 students that'll go into the system. E. Green, Martin Kellogg, the high school, depends on their age, but traditionally probably 2 students out of the 6 new houses. Okay, the next area is going to be, Fenn Road and Cedar Street. Okay, 12 Fenn Road is a development that's well underway, just went over there today. Those are just going to be 5 individual sites within one building. Some of them will be restaurants, maybe a hairdresser, that type of businesses. So that will not produce any students certainly, but probably will have additional police calls and emergency calls for various reasons, health, and safety. So we're figuring about 10 police calls and maybe several fire department calls. And now, when I say police, that's also ambulance is mixed in with that, because whenever there's a call for an ambulance, the police also respond. So, and again, there are no students over there, so the costs are minimal. And that section of Fen Road is a state road. So it's on the state road. Next area is the 16 Fen Road, which is a car wash that's on the opposite side of Myra Cohen Way. That's, again, no students involved there. Car washes don't generally generate a lot of police call activity, fire or police, but we're figuring probably a couple calls a year at that location. And that will be it. There's no additional cost by Public Works or Parks or anything like that. Next area is the 712 Cedar Street. Now that is the hotel that's just about ready to break ground. No students will be coming out of there. We do anticipate on occasion there'll be a need for police calls and fire. We're figuring maybe 75 police calls a year and maybe 4 or 6 fire calls a year, depending on what it is. Somebody may pull a fire alarm or whatever once in a while. So again, that's on the state road. So our Public Works has no responsibilities, nor do we have the garbage, because that's the commercial property. So they'll do their own garbage and recycling. 690 Cedar Street is the former National Welding site. And that is proposed to have market rate apartments. And there's going to be about 238 units of apartments in that site. It'll be a 4-story building. And we anticipate there will be student demand. At this point, we're projecting, and again, it's hard to know until everybody moves in, but at maximum 50 students at maximum. We don't think it'll be anywhere near that, but to err on the side of safety, we're saying maybe 50 students, probably 75 police calls, maybe 3 or 4 fire calls again there. It's on a state road. Myra Cohen Way is a state road, as well as Fen and Cedar. So that whole quadrant there are all serviced by state roads. There will be a 250-foot sidewalk built in relation to the 690 Cedar Street property. And again, that will be the private property owner or the state's responsibility, not the town's. And then we move over to 550 Cedar Street, which is the Dakota property. Now that is scheduled to have a total of 108 units, affordable apartments. There's 2 phases, that one with 72 and then the second with 36 additional. It's a 3-story building. There'll be about 200 feet of sidewalk installed. Again, it's along the state road or stays with private property. Both the 690 Cedar Street and the 550 Cedar Street are going to be serviced by Anna Reynolds, Martin Kellogg, and the high school. And we anticipate maybe, again, hard to project what's going to happen here, but maybe 23 students coming from Dakota's property. And there'll be, we're projecting about 150 police calls and maybe 9 fire calls a year at that location. And then we move further into the center of town, or actually up at the top of the hill at East Cedar Street at Russell. Now what's projected there, and this has been changing. This, since I've been here, I think there's been 3 different proposals. At this moment, it's proposed to be a fueling station, a super convenient store, and a car wash, along with a electric vehicle showroom. Not repair shop, but just a showroom for electric vehicles. There'll be no need for school involvement. we anticipate with being a gas station with a super convenience store and so forth, maybe 95 additional police calls and 2 or 3 fire calls, depending, maybe some spill fuel or something like that. Okay, we're going to jump over. We won't talk about 1170 Main Street at this point. We'll come back to it, but let's go down the Turnpike. And the first stop is 2530 Berlin Turnpike. And that's where a new car wash is under construction right now. I believe it's almost complete. And again, no students involved with that project. And we anticipate maybe 15 police calls a year and a couple of fire calls at the car wash itself. And again, it's right on the Berlin Turnpike, so it's state road, has no town road, although it does connect over to Kitts Lane. But it'll be plenty, that there should be no problem with that location with the amount of traffic that the car wash is going to generate. Next site is moving down Connecticut Turnpike is 3333 Berlin Turnpike. Now I'm going to come back to the 3067 Berlin Turnpike and the 3153 and the 3219, but we're going to go to 333 Berlin Turnpike, which is the largest development of all of these that we're proposing in town. This is the $100 million combination of commercial retail as well as apartment complex. And in that site, we anticipate about 269 rental units. It'll be a 4-story complex. And then in the front along the Berlin Turnpike will be commercial with retail outlets, restaurants, and assorted other retail operations. The students, we anticipate possibly 57 students generated out of this site. They will go to John Patterson, John Wallace, and the high school. There will be 250 feet of sidewalk, but again, it's not going to be owned by the town or maintained by the town. And the next stop we have is 227 Payne Road. And that is an apartment complex that has proposed 151 units. We anticipate maybe 50 additional police calls there. Oh, excuse me, I don't think I mentioned the police calls at 3333 is about 225 additional police calls and 10 fire calls. So going back down to 227 Payne Road, 50 additional police calls, maybe 4 fire calls, and there'll be about 32 students possibly generated, and they will go to John Patterson, John Wallace, and the high school. And the next stop is 187 Costello Road, and both Costello Road projects are industrial warehouses. There'll be no students. There'll be just warehousing. We don't anticipate any calls whatsoever. Maybe once in a while, but not as often as we have for the retail or the apartment complexes. Next one is the Culver Street project. Now, is Culver Street on this map?
Is not.
No.
Okay, Culver Street is yeah, it should be on there. I will tell you that Culver Street is projected to have 225 apartment complex. It'll be multi-story. It should generate no more than 47 students. They would go to Ruth Chafee, John Wallace, and the high school. Maybe 75 additional police calls, maybe 4 fire calls. And I don't have any other information. The Culver Street has not approached my office yet. So we don't have a development cost for that site yet. They'll be coming to us at some point, I'm sure. So I don't have all the information on Culver Street that I do for most of these other projects. Peckham Farm, that's a 18 lot subdivision.
Is that the Deming one?
Yes.
Deming Street.
Okay.
It's anticipated that that may generate 3 police calls a year, a couple of fire calls, maybe 5 or 6 students. And they would use Ruth Chafee or John Patterson, and then John Wallace in the high school.
How many units?
How many units again, Keith?
There's 18 homes.
18 homes?
Yes, single family homes there.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the next couple, I said we would hold off. 3067 Berlin Turnpike and 3153 Berlin Turnpike are existing buildings that are just being reoccupied. So they're being reused. They're commercial in nature, so there won't be any demand for any services other than the typical police and fire, which something that was already in that building. We're assuming they're going to have the same rate of calls. So there won't be any additional demands placed on those two. Plus, if we back up to 3219, that's a reuse of the building on the Berlin Turnpike. And then the final property, if you can go back to the center of town, James.
I'm sorry, Keith, what's 3219, a reuse of what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's a reuse of an existing building, just a new business going in.
I got you, thank you.
Okay, and then over here at 1170 Main Street, which is the Keeney Manufacturing old building. We are currently in conversations with the property owner, the new property owner, and several potential occupants for the Keeney property. There already is some space being used by Data Mail in the High Bay area. And directly across the street on Lowry is the Food Mart complex. And we're also in discussions with those owners. They are talking with a potential buyer of the entire complex. So there won't be any real change in the demand based upon the current proposed uses that we're seeing from what was there before. So in summary, we're looking maybe, if all this happens, and hopefully it all happens, maybe 220 more students in our system at the most. We're going to have about 850 additional police calls, probably 40 to 45 more fire calls. And we're going to end up with about 1,500 more automobiles in town, which most of those will be at the apartment complexes. Some of them will be at the single family houses. And talking with Bill DeMayo, based upon what is being developed here, he does not anticipate any significant impact on his operations whatsoever. He's comfortable with what he's already has in place that will be able to handle it. We're going to see about 800 feet of new sidewalk and about 800 feet of new pavement that will, the pavement will be responsible for plowing. But I've talked to Rob Hillman at the Highway Department, and 800 feet out of 104 miles of road is not going to make any major change in the way they operate. And I think that's about it. I will tell you though, what's interesting is if all this goes through, and again, we don't have the Culver Street dollars yet presented to us, but we're at $281 million of new development if all this goes through. What that results in on annual revenue, not counting Culver Street, while we're in the tax abatement status, will be that the taxes will be at least $3.4 million revenue to the town annually. And then with the additional 1,500 cars, we're looking at just about $1 million in motor vehicle taxes on top of that. So you're looking at, when you add Culver Street in, probably $5 million of new revenue for the next 10 years if everything goes forward. And then the tax abatements for some of these properties will be lifted, which will raise up your annual revenue to maybe 8.5 or $9 million a year.
Keith, did you forget the Tremont Street, Church Street, Tremont Street?
That I did not, I don't have enough information on that to talk about it at this point. It's still in the, it hasn't been approved by planning and zoning. All of these items have been gone through the process and already have approvals, but that particular one that you just asked about off Church Street is still in the planning and zoning stages. So I didn't want to add anything that was not already approved.
I think it's pretty close to approval, but that's going to be 23 more houses.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
all the
23
discussions.
houses, just looking at, if we looked at, we'll compare them to Peckham. They have 18. So you're probably looking for student wise, probably in the neighborhood of maybe, geez. I would say, I'm just trying to read my own writing here. Maybe, maybe 12 students out of, not even that, it'd be less than that. Maybe 10 students would come out of that development if it gets approved.
That would be Wallace and Patterson.
Yeah, that should be.
Yeah, that would be Patterson, Wallace, and the high school, yeah.
Is it off of Halloran? Where is that?
Is that Rockwall?
When you're driving up Church Street, Mitch, just before you get to Richard Street.
Yep.
There's a driveway off to your right.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of, that's the general area.
And then there's the brook.
Then there's the brook.
So let me just say that,
Yeah, right.
you know, I know there is concern about the additional vehicle traffic in town. Now, the two major routes that have the heaviest traffic through Newington is Cedar Street and the Berlin Turnpike. And the Berlin Turnpike is about 43,000 cars a day. Cedar Street is about 30 some odd thousand a day. For what's going to be added from these projects, you won't even notice it. And you know, we're fortunate that most of the development that we're talking about are on those two main roads, which are state roads, not our responsibility. And yes, Cedar Street is always backed up, and it has been that way even for those that remember when it was a 2-lane road and not a 4-lane road. You know, it's the major artery that connects New Britain to Hartford, we'll say, and when 84 shuts down, and which will be happening at some point for the complete replacement of 84 in Hartford, guess what's going to be the main artery? Hopefully people will use the busway system, the fast track system, but I'm sure Cedar Street's going to have more traffic. So we're going to just have to get used to Cedar Street being busy, and Berlin Turnpike is continuing to grow at all ends of the turnpike. So you're going to see more traffic there. But the local streets are not going to be that much adversely impacted, if at all. And you know, the benefit that I see is you're going to be getting $1 million worth of revenue from these automobiles. It's not bad at all. We need the revenue. So I don't know if this answers what you were looking for. As far as bicycle ways go and new sidewalks, Gary, our town engineer, is working with Rob Hillman, our highway superintendent, and planning for bicycle ways throughout the town to make it, we'll say, all connect together, as well as sidewalks. Walkways, you know, pathways. I think that's something that we probably need to really get serious about in trying to find a way that we can have pedestrians walk this town through, you know, open space areas and wooded areas to make it a nicer place to live and work and raise a family. I think that's about all I have to say at this point.
All right, thank you, Keith. That was a very thorough presentation. We do have a few hands up, so Counselor.
You will be getting copies of what I just read from for the new projects, with all the breakdown of the annual revenues, the number of units, the location, and all that type of thing, the square footages. So you'll be getting that in your next packet, along with, I do want to just mention before we get into questions, if I may,
Yeah.
James, can you put up that 30-page document just to cover? Okay, now this has been issued out, we believe, to all of the counselors, but it may have been before the election. Now, this was a study that was requested and provided for the 3333 Berlin Turnpike. And the information contained within this 30-page document, I believe, is probably one of the most important documents you as counselors could read, because it just doesn't apply to 3333 Berlin Turnpike. It can be applied to virtually any development at any time in the town of Newington. And the information is well laid out, well described, and I think that it would behoove you to spend the time to read the entire document front to back, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you get into, particularly when you get into the pages, we'll say 15 through 25. Don't jump ahead, go right from the beginning. But I really think, it would behoove you to read it, and we'll provide copies once again to all of you, because we don't really remember whether it came out, but doesn't matter. We're going to provide it to you again anyway. So, okay, I'm ready for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Keith. Counselor Rada?
Yeah, Keith, thank you so much. This is great. This is just what I think we were looking for. I know Councilor Vudrako and I have had conversations, sitting in as a liaison on conservation and TPZ. We hear about some of the proposed developments, but to, have this in a very concise and very systematic way is really helpful. Question about two locations. I don't know if you have any information you can provide. I keep hearing periodically about possible development up on Cedar Mountain. And then I think we talked a few meetings ago, or it was raised, there some possible use of the old Cedar Crest Hospital building. Do you have any information about either of those?
Well, Cedar Crest Hospital is currently being cleaned up by the state. I believe all the grounds have been cleaned up. They're now, we'll say, decontaminating all of the buildings. We have been in conversations with the state. We've indicated our desire to acquire that property. The state is not ready to turn it over to us. They know that we want first right refusal on it. So it's in all good likelihood, if need be, we'll get our state legislators involved at the right time. But I believe that we will at some point end up with that property, as long as we continue to say we want to end up with it. Now the other portion of Cedar, of the Cedar Hill area, Kim, where exactly are you speaking of?
I don't know. I keep hearing every now and then that I know that in the past there had been proposed construction up on Cedar Mountain, as you're coming up East Cedar Street off to the left, going towards Berlin Turnpike, going towards Hartford. But is there anything proposed or any requests that have been made for any of that area that was cleared and now is left vacant?
He mentioned that one.
Gas station and a car wash and a
Yeah,
The
that-
electric car.
Right here.
yeah, that particular piece right here, East Cedar Street at Russell Road, that's the one where you see the big mound of stone and some pipes now are over there. I've met
Is
with
that
that.
where
I've
that
met
where the
with
Jersey barriers are?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you come up Cedar Street? Okay, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we've met with that property owner several times, and we thought we had a deal worked out, but unfortunately, after doing due diligence, it was determined that what they wanted to build there would not conform to our zoning regulations. So that developer pulled out. However, the current owner still wants to develop the fuel station, the convenience store, the car wash, and the electric car showroom, which won't take up the whole property. So he's looking to market the rear portion along Russell Road if somebody comes in, or maybe he'll develop it if he gets the right, type of development in there. But that one is the one that is never really solidified itself since I've been here.
Yeah.
But, we want to get that because that is the gateway into the town, from the east, and it doesn't look good there. So. But the
Thank you.
Russell Road, Cedar, the hospital property, we've made it clear we want that property. So, but we don't want to take the buildings and then spend millions of dollars knocking them down. We want the state to do it for us.
Agreed.
Mm.
Thanks.
All right. Deputy Mayor Badrejko?
Yeah, Keith, thank you so much. I think a lot of our residents feel that this was incredibly informative because it's a comprehensive view, it's a cumulative view. And the amount of growth that is happening with these developments is wonderful for Newington, and it's, but again, because we've been stagnant for so long, when you think about a town that stayed at 30,000 people for quite some time, and then within the next couple of years, there's a possibility. I mean, let's face it, if there's almost 1,030 new units, you figure 2 people per unit, whatever, that's an increase of almost, 2,500 people in a town that's stayed stagnant for some time. So I'm pleased to see that, I'm sure, you've talked to the police chief, he knows that this is coming down the pike. Human services, will be impacted. I'm sure you're working with them. The schools, particularly, I guess, Patterson and Wallace, keeping them in the loop. I think actually Superintendent Brummett had said that she's kind of keeping an eye on this stuff too. So I'm happy that we have the capacity, to support this growth, and even, some more in the future. But I'm assuming, because that's their job, and I know we have a great town staff, I am concerned about some of the stuff coming down from the state level that could impact our growth significantly, where we really won't have that much more control on it, such as our multiple TOD centers will certainly be a eyed for, let's say, housing and multifamily, and some of the legislation that it's installed, but it will certainly resurrect itself again, such as increasing the density per acre. That was, that type of stuff is going to be coming up I think every year, and I want to be sure that we're looking proactively in our CIP to anticipate that growth and to make sure that our roads are adequately, our schools, whatever. And, also there's a pretty significant piece of legislation that's been passed already that could impact us if we don't plan appropriately. And that's the accessory apartment, which could significantly impact our, housing population and roads. And again, that's mandated from the state level. It's not coming from private development, but I feel, I'm sure you and your staff are keeping tracks on that stuff in terms of making sure we can absorb that capacity if we need to.
Yes, in fact, Renata and I have had multiple discussions concerning those particular topics. And I will say that if all of this development goes through as planned, which is quite remarkable, I have to give the staff a lot of credit for this. And unfortunately, Steve had left before he saw it come to fruition, but we had a great team working for the last 2.5 years on these projects. But if all of those go through, just from my perspective, there'll be no more space left to develop. What we will be into is redevelopment. And when areas get redeveloped, if they're going to be maximizing the space, they're going to have to go up. Now, part of buying the new fire equipment that we can reach to 4 or 5 or 6 floors is, we have a truck on order right now. I fully anticipate that the redevelopment is going to result in higher buildings. You look at our condos and our apartments throughout the whole town, most of them are 2 stories. And they're occupying a lot of acreage that if you build the same amount of space up 2, 3, 4, 5 stories, you would have a lot more space left on the ground without being developed. And I think that's something that in the future, as planning and zoning lays out their we'll say long-term plans, and you have a plan of development, I really think you to keep the, we'll say, revenue flow coming into the town and increasing, you're going to have to increase the height of the properties and buildings. So just my 2 cents on it. But all those factors, as you point out, Gail, are certainly discussed by the staff. And there is some, there is concern that we need to think out what we're going to do in the future to make sure it maximizes the benefit of all of our residents, current residents, and those in the future.
And also, when we're talking or a lot of the applications that are coming through, which again, I'm thrilled that they are going through, and they do reference our POCD quite a lot. But no one seems to be talking about the other chapters in POCD. I mean, there's the housing and whatever, but there's also the open space, there's the livability, there's the quality of life, there's the connectivity and walkability. There actually, I don't know if it's our vision statement or not, but it says, we want to maintain, or we'd like to maintain ourselves primarily as a medium density owner occupied community. So, the POCD has an awful lot of chapters in it, and each one has to be reviewed and respected.
Yeah, and we're well aware of that, and we'll say creating our staffing around those types of things in the whole planning area where, with Renata on board, she's very, very keen on these issues, and she's asked for additional help, which we're going to provide to her through consulting services to help us prepare for the future with the railroad. We don't know what's going to happen with the railroad station, but we want a railroad station at Newington, and that's going to have a major impact on what is developed around wherever that railroad station is. And if you look at the old Atlantic Tool, I mean, that's one of the largest standalone buildings we have in the town, and it's virtually empty. And we'd love to get a new company to go in there, but once again, we don't know how bad the conditions are of the land and so forth. So, but that is a major piece of property that's underutilized significantly.
Well, thank you very much. And thank Renata as well.
I will.
Councilor Page.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Keith. I also want to thank all the town staff for the hard work people have been doing the last few years. All of this is very positive. It's good for our town, and on that sign over your left shoulder, it says growth and progress, and this certainly is growth. And so there's a lot of positive here. I just have a couple questions. I wouldn't know how to calculate this, so I'm just asking, what are the standards used for calculating students with this type of development? I know we went through this pretty quickly. Is there some sort of calculation, or is it just based on current student ratios for our housing population as it exists? How do we arrive at that?
There's actually, when you have a chance to review that 30-page document, you will see exactly how it was figured for the development at 333 Berlin Turnpike. And that is exactly what we've used to develop what we presented tonight. So it's a little complicated, but I think once you read through that document, you'll see exactly how it's determined how many students will be generated from 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment complexes and new homes and so forth. And I don't have that in front of me tonight to tell you.
No, that's fine. But that's fine. Yeah, and I can check that out. I appreciate it. May I just go through a couple of questions about existing properties just to see if you have any update? And if you don't, that's fine. The Hartford Healthcare site east of Constance Lee, I think, isn't that where we're doing the dog park? Yes. But is there any more opportunity for that site to be developed, or is Hartford Hospital in possession of that and not interested? Or
we've talked with Hartford Hospital or the Hartford Healthcare about that property, and, you know, they did offer to let us put the dog park there on a 3-year lease program. I think, you know, I think they're banking that property right now. I don't think they're looking to market it. I think they're waiting to see where the whole medical industry goes. It definitely has potential development on certain portions of the property. But I don't think that they're actively marketing it, and I think they want to just hold on to it, and that's why they agreed to let us build a dog park there.
Oh, that's cool. And then you mentioned a couple of reuse situations on the turnpike. Are there any other dormant properties off the top of your head, motels or any other properties that we might leverage to expand or to grow on those?
Well, I will tell you that we have what's called an economic development team meeting every Tuesday morning. We delayed it till 2 o'clock this afternoon, but just today, I think there were 3 sites that are currently vacant that we now believe there are occupants that will be going in. And in one particular case, $1 million is going to be spent on the renovations of that existing building. I can't recall which locations they are, but I believe there were 3 this morning that were reported that they want to move into Newington or they want to relocate in Newington. So the vacant buildings will be occupied, I believe 3 or more, probably in the next 6 or 8 months.
Thank you. And then is there something going into Pier 1? I know there was some new store with the green sign that's bright green.
Ren Kitchens.
Right.
Ren Kitchens.
But is that what took over Pier 1 or is there?
No.
Is that?
No, Pier 1 went out after Ren came in, I think.
Okay.
Right, I believe so.
I didn't know if there was anything cooking over there.
I don't know specifically, but I believe that also is one that's being looked at. It's a perfect location for the right type of business. So it won't remain empty. Everything on the turnpike is filling up. So I would not expect anything to be vacant too much longer.
And then just a few more, and I appreciate your patience. The Shelburne property on Alumni Road, has that got any activity? Do we know of? And if you don't, that's fine. I just wasn't sure if
I
there was.
don't have an answer for you on that, Mitch.
No, that's fine. And then Kitts Lane next to Stop and Shop, is there any opportunity there? Was it 220, 226, 244, 252? I didn't know if there was any development going on there or any proposals or interest.
Across the street.
Where the new car wash is going?
In that area, right off of Kitts, yeah.
I haven't heard specifically of anything going on in that area, but there's so much stuff going on that I don't always, sometimes I'm the last to know.
No, that's fine. And then just a couple, the Twin City Plaza, I think, what left there? There's something open there, isn't there, in Twin City?
There's a gaming, there's a new type of game that kids are playing now. I forget what it's called, but they're occupying a lot of space over there right now. And we've been in conversations with them.
Dragons.
Right.
Yeah. So there is some activity going on with that.
And then, yeah, I'm sorry. There's some activity. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, with that particular business, yes.
Thank you. And my last question is, because you covered a lot of activity going on over near the busway area between Cedar and Fen. So between what's going up now, will there be in that location and in the possible train station location on Willard that's been suggested, any more development near or around Connecticut Fast Track, TVDD, or the Fen Road area?
Yeah, actually, just east of the Route 9 ramp coming down to Cedar Street, on the left side as you're headed towards New Britain, there's 6 or 8 acres of land where we were hoping to get a student housing into that area, private student housing for Central. But there are others looking at that 6 or 8 acres right now. The drawback with that particular location is it's a right turn in and right turn out only. So it limits what type of businesses could go in there. As far as going up Fen Road, there is, still some space left for additional development going up Fen Road. I know there is a development or a developer trying to develop on the left side as you go up Fen Road from Cedar Street, just before you get to the Route 9 interchange. In that corner right there, there's a potential development that's being proposed in that area. And if you go up further on Fen Road, there's a lot of opportunities that are just hidden away. And we'll say some of the older buildings are blocking the opportunity for some new development to go in. That's an area where I think you're going to see down the road a lot of effort to redevelop, because some of those buildings on some of those side streets are like Holmes Road. They're dated, and they certainly could be replaced with a much more modern and better use of the land, we'll say. So there is some opportunities along Fen Road, yes.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate your comments about pedestrian and cycling and walkways and safety and quality of life. I appreciate that, and I agree, and Councilor Pedraco and Rada's comments on others, because the growth is good and our management responsibilities are required, and it sounds like this conversation is in the service of that. So thank you very much.
I will, if I may, Alumni Road, we're looking to get that to be opened up. Right now, there is a gate that the state required to be installed halfway up Alumni Road, right after the curve and right after the football field. And we're looking to get that gate removed on Alumni Road. And if that happens, there are opportunities for development along Alumni Road. But right now, with the road being blocked off, it's not really marketable. But if that gate gets removed, then I would anticipate there'll be some real interest in developing along Alumni Road.
Last comment, I'm sorry, I know there's other people waiting, I'm sorry. Would that be when we would work to open up over on the corner of Maple Hill and Cedar to realign Maple Hill so it would line up with the lights on Alumni and we eliminate that terrible left turn?
As you can see where James has got his little pointer, that is a proposed road that would align up with Alumni Road. That's in the works. We're working with the state on a grant to do that intersection over. We're suggesting maybe a pedestrian walkway be included in it. So that's on the road a ways, but it's all of the properties that are across the street from John's house. When they were purchased, I believe in their deeds, it indicates that there may be a roadway in the rear someday, and then a cul-de-sac in the front to block off Maple Hill as you currently know it, block off Old Farms as you currently know it, and reconfigure that whole intersection to make it work a lot better.
Nice, thank you. And I know John said he would personally snowplow all those sidewalks, so I appreciate it.
I just bought my big tractor, man. I'm ready.
Thanks very much, Keith. I appreciate it.
All right, there's two more hands up right now. Counselor Mankey?
Yeah, just Keith, I would thank you for this map. This is really informative, and I appreciate all the work that went in by you and your staff. So just thank your staff on my behalf, for our behalf. I think this is really informative. I can see the development here in black and white. So I appreciate your efforts and that of your staff.
Thank you.
All right. Counselor Nagel?
Yes, I'd like to offer my thanks and appreciation for all you and your staff have done in terms of all this potential development, and specifically tonight, giving us actual details and estimated numbers that make it clearer to us and indeed to the residents who are listening or will listen to this when it's replayed on NCTV. What gives us on the council, because we are all given on the spur of the moment from someone in the public, what's going on here, what's going on there, what is the real answer, even though we may know some of it. This helps us to be able to specifically answer questions for those who are confused or those who have a set idea that something's happening when something else may. The more clarity we have and the more specifics that we have to share, the more understanding there is in terms of what's being developed and how it's being developed, and understanding as to what actually is happening. This looks like a lot of development, and it's really great that it is happening in terms of revenue and other things. But my understanding is that this is like things have been dormant and now they've come to pass, and you and your team has comprehensively gotten things going. Do you see this as being a period of time of great development and then there will be a lull? I realize there are not as many spaces to do new development but reuse, but do you see this as being something that will come down the pike at such a pace in the future, or do you see this trailing off for a variety of reasons you've mentioned and some that you haven't?
You know, David, it's with what's going on in the world, with the war, with the environment, with the inflation, with the COVID, it's hard to predict. You know, I do want to compliment the commissions that we've been working with, the TPZ, the Inland Wetlands, the Conservation Commission. You know, they have been environmental quality and so forth. They've been all instrumental in helping the staff get accomplished what we've accomplished to this point. You know, now it's up to these developers to, you know, make that commitment. We know 3333 Berlin Turnpike, they're about ready to do it, you know, to start breaking ground. Now that the 690 Cedar Street, we just learned from our state reps, Gary Turco today, I believe, he informed us that the state DEEP has given their approval for 690 Cedar Street, which now will let the feds give us their approval. So that's going to go fast now. I want to see as much of this get moving as quickly before something else happens in this world. You know,
Right.
the inflation alone is becoming a problem for, you know, those developers for materials. I mean, the cost of building these buildings are a lot more going up right now than it was, we'll say, a year ago. So the sooner they build, the cheaper it'll be for them as well. So I don't know, you know, I think we're just fortunate, you know, the plan is all lined up for us right now. Whether it continues, anybody's guess. But I just want to compliment, and including the council. You guys have been great with the tax abatements and so forth. So all of the boards and commissions and the staff and the volunteers that we've been working with, and the developers. I mean, they're the key to this whole thing. And you know, we have several developers that have invested a lot of money into town that continue to do so. And we have new developers that are looking not only at one piece, but maybe more than one piece. So for whatever reason, everything has fell into place, and it's a team effort. And that's what we wanted to get accomplished when I first got here. So we'll see what happens.
I knew it was a loaded question, and I know you'd have an expertise answer as best as you could. Once again, I appreciate all you and the team and everyone involved, including the developers, in terms of bringing us to this fruition and in terms of bringing clarity to everyone. And also, even though our discussions about economic development, that this council, you and your team in town hall is looking at other aspects that don't involve economic development, but such things as open space, conservation, all the other elements, and not just forgetting them at the expense of what we're just talking about tonight. So they are all important. I know you're well aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Keith. That's the end of the questions. So I appreciate the details that you provided tonight. Everybody else has already pretty much said everything, but thank you to you and your staff. Really appreciate it.
Well, we thank you guys too. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it.
All right. And you're still on, because the next item on our agenda is written and oral communications from the town manager.
Yes, I have a couple, talking about development and so forth. We'll talk about the town-owned properties. The town hall, we finally did the improvement for the HVAC system that was vibrating over the Human Services Department. That shock absorbers have been now installed, and the vibration should be eliminated. That was one of those issues that I guess was a value-added issue where the $5,000 shock absorbers were not put in, only to now spend probably 10 times that putting them in. So that's done. We are also putting the ramps in the west side of the community center. There was not enough parking ramps out there, so we're building, I think, 4 additional spaces with ramps for wheelchairs and those that have trouble walking. And I think there was one other thing I just wanted to mention. Let me just look here real quick.
Eventually, but not right now.
Hold on. We did put out in the fields in Mill Pond Park artificial
The coyotes.
foxes that would scare away the geese, but the geese came over and studied them and oh, we're gonna have to figure out some, but I saw it down in my neck of the woods, and I talked to the church that actually put them out, and they said it worked great, but I think Bill DeMayo's geese on his parks are too smart for him or something. I don't know. But anyway,
We have the smart geese in town.
yeah, I can't find the other thing, but anyway, the town hall is getting some of the improvements that we've been waiting for, so that's good. And I think we probably summarize just about everything I have.
Okay, and just for counselors, the report that Keith mentioned earlier, James has put on our K drive for us, so we can reference
Thank
it.
you.
Okay.
That's Goldman and York.
Yep, and it's dated 1/25, you said, right?
4/25, 21.
On January 25th of this year, it's in your K drive folder.
Of course, I saw that. I just chose not to read it. Yeah.
And we're going to send you also the spreadsheet that goes along with the map that you already have.
Okay.
Good.
So hold on to those maps.
Good.
Perfect, thank you.
I thought he said there was gonna be a test.
There may be. The residents will test us. That's where the real test comes. They keep us on our toes. All right, next item is council liaison and committee reports. Counselor Nagel.
Yes, it's been a month since we've been able to give any reports. So after the last council meeting that was official, I attended via Zoom a CROG meeting. Most of the information there is old and probably not relevant today, but there was a TIP project that was presented to work on improving traffic lights throughout our district, not just Newington, but others as well. And also Matthew Hart, who is the new executive director of CROG, stated that he was going to contact all the towns in CROG to personally make arrangements to visit in one way or another. I don't know if he's done that for Newington. I don't know what that entails, but that may be coming down the pike. Moving on to, and also there's a CROG meeting tomorrow that I'll be attending via Zoom, and hopefully it won't be a month before I'll be able to report what's happened there. The library board meeting on the 11th of this month. An update was presented about what's developing in the library, including the computer room being fully opened. They are very pleased with the new cleaning service. I hope everyone in town has heard that the new cleaning service is working very well in terms of the library, and they're quite pleased about that. There is a Friends of the Library book sale at this coming weekend, and you can contact them about the details about that. There are signs going up around town. There's one in front of my house, and I've seen others giving you details as to how that is happening this weekend. They have finished the feasibility study of their facility plan. We've talked about a building committee. They're in the early stages of planning for when eventually they'll be able to present something to that committee and to us. And they have a revised brochure having to do how to give a legacy, how to plan for a legacy to will things, for lack of a better word, to the library to support them and to show how much those of us in our lifetime have really revered the library and would like to leave them a lasting memory of those of us who wish to be part of the plan. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Nagel. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko?
Yes, Councilor Page and I attended the Environmental Quality Commission meeting, and the big thing is they're in the midst of their second annual upcycling contest. And upcycling, for those of you who don't know, is creating a usable product from waste or unwanted items and putting it together into something, you know, new or added value. And there are cash prizes. There's going to be 3 prizes of $100 each in 3 different categories. Category 1 is for residents or family. Category 2 is for businesses or nonprofits. And then there's a category for seniors. So the contest ends on June 12th, and the details are on the town website. And it's kind of fun, and it's they're very excited about it.
I have to tell you, I was so impressed the last time I did this contest. I came in, it was actually in here, and they had pictures and presentations out to look at, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I really did. It was a great contest to see what people could come up with to reuse things. It was great. And it's on our
All those
website.
images are still on our website.
Oh, wonderful. Good. So people can take a look. All right.
Current contest is up there as well.
Nice.
Wonderful. Councilor Page?
Yeah, sure. Councilor Mankey and I are liaison with the fire commissioners, and we didn't meet recently, but I just wanted to speak on behalf of my my invitation, and some of you may have done this in the past, it's new to me, to the training tower, the fire training tower. And just to compliment our fire department, the men and women firefighters who they light hay in a corner of this building last night off of Milk Lane. And then they, with a fire raging and with dummies and locations in the fire tower, the firefighters are in groups of people to go in, rescue obviously the people and these things are heavy. The one adult dummy is 180 pounds and second floor. So these folks go into a burning building, and you might say, well, obviously that's what firefighters do, but I've never gotten that close to a structure on fire, seeing men and women going in. Yeah, it was 800 degrees or whatever it was. Yeah. They had, the chief had one of the devices that measures. And I just wanted to say it was extremely impressive, and I encourage others to. I know Councilor Mackey's going to go Thursday. And I not only am impressed with their bravery and how they save lives and help us every day, but also was thinking as I looked at all of the people there and the work that they do, how much money they save us. These folks are giving their nights and weekends and sometimes 3 a.m. to go to a call where somebody maybe at severe risk and all sorts of things. And I just want to tip my hat to them, and I know we all do. So thank you to our volunteer fire department.
Thank you, Councilor Page. Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, I found the 2 things that I couldn't find earlier. One was the ambulance buildings, the new roof is going to be installed over the next couple of weeks, and that's been a long time in coming. And the other thing is the Maple Hill Robbins Avenue reconstruction has been approved, and we're going to be going out to bid probably in a month. So that's a long time coming as well. So good things are happening.
Great, wonderful. Thank you. I've been wondering about that Maple Robbins project, so glad to hear that's moving forward. All right. Next item is public participation. Any member of the public may participate we have a time limit of 3 minutes by stating your name and address for the record. If you're in the Zoom app, you can raise your hand in the participation window. And if you are on your phone, *9 will accomplish that same function. I see Ms. Lyons. Go right ahead, Rose.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive, and I just wanted to thank Councilor Bedraco and Councilor Rada for asking the town manager to make the presentation tonight. As you all know, I attend many of the meetings, TPZ. I haven't been to conservation or economic development in a while, but I find going to those meetings, I pick up bits and pieces of what is happening as it applies to the particular board or commission that the projects are in front of. But by having it discussed in front of the council and bringing in some issues that can't be brought in during application presentations, I think it's informative not only for the town council, but for the residents as well. I am not a big fan of the speculation that goes on Facebook and a lot of other things that happen. But I think you just open up that speculation, and I'm not talking you as a body, we open up all that speculation and guesswork because things are not presented as a whole picture. There's one piece of the puzzle at TPZ, there's one piece of the puzzle at conservation, another one's discussed at EDC, and so forth and so on. As far as the school children and the estimate, I live on a street where there's 26 houses. Of those 26 houses, probably 25% are seniors. The rest are young couples and families. And up until recently, and I think Councilor Mankey can attest to this, up to the 26 homes that were here, we had 16 children under the age of 18, and that was in just 7 or 8 houses. So I think that you're going to find more children going to the schools, and the affordable housing or the workforce affordable housing on Cedar Street, I think is going to generate more children. But I guess we'll have to work with that as it comes along. That being said, having watched all these projects come to be, the one on the mountain, I started out with Toll Brothers, and nothing ever happened with Toll Brothers. It went to court and it was turned down. Frisbee, I've seen 4 different projects there. And this is the way it goes. And hopefully the financing will go through and we will see this come to be in the next 10 years, but it's not going to be an overnight thing. And I think the town has to be updated as much as we can as to what is happening. As for Cedar Crest, I've asked for at least 5 years now for information as to what the story was, the status with the state of Connecticut. I thank you again, Mr. Chapman, for bringing us up to speed on that. And I look forward to maybe not having this a once every 4-year discussion, maybe once every couple of months discussion, so that the speculation won't be out there and the facts will be put in front of you and in front of the residents. Again, thank you very much. And I just want to go on record, Mayor, that I did not try to get in twice the last time. You guys are muting me, and then you're thinking that I'm raising my hand, but I'm not. So I'm going to have to try and come down at the next meeting if we're not closed up again. Everybody stay well, stay safe. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rose. All right, next we have Ms. Mazzacoli.
Hi, Sue Mazzacoli, 149 Harris Drive, Newington, Connecticut. I found the town manager's report extremely informative, so I want to thank him for that. So thank you, Keith. I would love to see a copy of the document that you all have, but at the same time, you know, when you have time, maybe I can get that, or maybe you could put it on our great website. Also, Rose and I are thinking in the same way as far as the school children. Being a former Board of Ed member, you know, hearing 222 more people or students, that kind of makes me think about, okay, if they were all grammar students, then I'd be concerned because there's 284 E-Green, so 222, would that mean a new school? But the town manager did say that some of these students would be grammar school students, some middle school and some high school, but it's definitely will need more classrooms. And so I don't know how we're thinking about that for the future. is that something that our Board of Ed has to start thinking about, but also the town council as far as providing funding for those extra classrooms that will be needed. So that's what I wanted to bring up tonight. And once again, thank you. Very thorough report and really appreciated. And I think also, and thank you about the Robins and Maple. That question has just recently popped up again on the horrible Facebook that you all talk about. But anyways, they were asking that question, and so now we have an answer. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzacoli. All right, next we have Patty Foley.
Patty Foley, 51 Crown Ridge, Newington. The town manager's report, I would love to see that in like a little bit of a chart, which could be dated with whatever version we're looking at. So as information becomes available, then we're all being informed with not full info. It was said that, 4 meetings ago, 8 meetings ago, that would be, it was very thorough. So hats off to you, Keith, and team of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. All right. There are no other folks with their hands up online, and there's no one here in the room with us, so we'll continue on. The next item is remarks by counselors. Counselor Page.
This will be quick. I know it's late.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted, at the risk of embarrassing my son, I just wanted to say my youngest son is working, we hope, towards an Eagle project with in the town, working on planting pollinators to encourage and support bee life. And I didn't know much about bees and what they do other than honeybees, because honey's good on toast, right? But we've had a decimation of our bee population around the world as a result of development, pesticides, and climate change. And so this is a small project that he'll be doing to make a small impact on our local bee populations. But I just wanted to say I've been reading, thanks to my son's educating me about this, about work done in Appleton, Wisconsin, and their efforts and there's a lot of folks enthused about this there and increasingly around the country, to engage in what's referred to as I have to say this carefully, no mow May. And what it refers to is that as spring comes along, now I may get in trouble with zoning on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would encourage people to consider not using pesticides and not mowing their lawn till Memorial Day. Now, I know you might raise your eyebrows and say that you may have a forest on the front lawn, and it may sound totally counterintuitive because we all like manicured lawns and green lawns and no dandelions. But in the service of the bee population, other pollinators like butterflies and so forth, no mow May does benefit our bees, but by extension, our food production and the ecosystem. So I just wanted to put a shout out for that. And hopefully I don't get too many calls to zoning on me, but I will cut it, I promise, on Memorial Day weekend, and encourage anyone else to join me in town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Page. Counselor Mankey.
I know it's already been mentioned before, but just give another shout out to the Friends of the Library book sale that's this weekend. It's been 2 years now since we've had an actual indoor book sale at the senior center. It's a sign that things are coming back, even though we're back in the red again. But I think it's a good sign, and so get those books you need to read over the summer, and they're cheap, and the more books you buy, the better off it is. So buy books.
All right, thank you. I wanted to mention too that I saw actually on Facebook very positively, the senior center started their congregate lunches up again. And I know a lot of our senior folk were really missing the opportunity to get together and eat and break bread and just be together with each other. So I was pleased to see that started up again, and just throwing it out there for anybody that didn't hear that yet, contact the senior center if you're interested. All right. Next item is informational items. In our packet this evening, we had 2 informational items. You'll see Lucy Robbins Wells' 25th Annual 5K Challenge is scheduled for Sunday, May 15th at 9 a.m. The route is also on the flyer on the back. It's the usual route, the 5K route. I know they come down my street, on one of the streets. So just letting everybody know there is a registration form here, and I'm sure on their website, you can access that as well.
And you can run in the morning and then walk at Babs in the afternoon.
Absolutely.
Walk,
Never go home.
Just keep your sneakers on, right?
Break your Fitbit.
All right. And then the 2022 hazardous waste collection events. In our packet, I'm looking for the dates really quickly because I didn't highlight
The
it.
30th, I
Saturday,
believe.
April 30th.
Right, this weekend.
Right. Each year, the MDC provides its customers with an environmentally friendly initiative, the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program. It's scheduled to begin Saturday, April 30th. They will collect hazardous waste and dispose of it through safe, environmentally responsible practices. There are 10 collection dates total in 2022, and residents of any of the following participating towns may participate in any of those dates. So as a participating town, Newington can participate in any of those dates, and they are listed on this memo. Is this on our website, James?
If not, it will be included.
If not, it will be. So we're putting those up. The dates are on the screen now for those watching.
And Newington's the 30th of April.
Right,
Correct.
this Saturday.
That is correct.
So
And
you
it's
can
at the
take your
town
waste
garage.
back and buy a book at the same time.
It is at the town garage on Milk Lane from the Newington date. All right. And we have come to the end of our agenda, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Mackey, seconded by Counselor Donahue. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 9:11.
Dang it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.